The first thing they don't tell you about chemotherapy is how cold the room is. I was there, wrapped in 2 blankets, watching the poison drip into my veins while my sister Esther fiddled with her phone, occasionally looking up to ask if I needed anything. My name is Sandra, and 6 weeks ago I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. The news hit me like a steamroller, but I refused to let it derail my life. My daughter Sophia needed me to be strong, and that's exactly what I planned to be. You should let me handle the bills while you focus on getting better, Esther said, not taking her eyes off the screen. I can organize everything, make sure nothing gets missed. I hesitated. Esther and responsibility had never been close friends, but she seemed different lately, more mature, more present. I don't know. Oh, come on, sis, you're fighting cancer. The least I can do is help with the boring stuff. She reached out and squeezed my hand. Besides, if something happens and you're too sick to deal with it, Sophia needs someone looking out for her future. The mention of Sophia made me pause. My 13-year-old daughter was everything to me, and her college savings was my greatest pride. 12 years of careful saving, ensuring she'd have opportunities I never had. Just the regular bills, I finally agreed. The mortgage, water, electricity, phone, nothing else. Esther flashed a huge smile. You won't regret it. I've really got my life together now. Dr. Rivaldo came in to check my progress. How are we feeling today, Sandra? Like I could run a marathon, I joked weakly. He smiled, reviewing my chart. Fatigue is normal. Your results are good, though. Where's Dovey today? Work meeting, I said, ignoring the slight pang I felt. My husband had been absent more and more lately, citing project deadlines. That night, Davi came. Home late, bringing takeout. Sorry I missed the session. How was it? Fine. Esther was there. I watched his face closely. She offered to help with the bills while I'm sick. Something flickered in his expression. Relief. That's thoughtful of her. Could be good to have the help. 3 weeks later, I woke up early, nauseous from the previous day's treatment, unable to sleep. I decided to check our accounts online, something I hadn't done since giving Esther limited access. The screen loaded. I blinked, thinking the chemo was affecting my vision. The numbers couldn't be right. I refreshed the page. Our savings, account Sophia's college fund, was empty. With trembling hands, I called the bank. There must be a mistake, I said, my voice shaky. No mistake, ma'am. The transfers were authorized using your access codes. Multiple withdrawals over the last 2 weeks. I hung up and drove straight to Esther's apartment, still in pajamas. She opened the door, wearing designer clothes I'd never seen before. Where is it? I demanded, pushing past her. Sandra, calm down. You look awful. Should you even be driving? The money, Esther. Sophia's college fund. Where is it? She sat down, her face crumpling into familiar tears. I'd seen that expression countless times growing up, whenever she needed to escape consequences. I was desperate, she whispered. My business opportunity. I needed startup capital, but I'll pay it all back, I swear. Double even. This investment is guaranteed. Guaranteed? My voice sounded strange, distant. You stole my daughter's future based on a guarantee? I borrowed it, she corrected, wiping her eyes. You're my sister. We're family, and family helps each other, right? I looked at her. This woman I'd grown up with, shared secrets, with trusted despite all the warnings. As she avoided my gaze, the room spun. 12 years of savings, gone in 2 weeks while I lay in a hospital chair fighting for my life. My sister had betrayed me in the worst way possible. I'm calling the police, I said, grabbing my phone. Esther clutched my arm. Wait, talk to Davy first. He understands. He knows it's for the best. I froze. Her words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean, Davi knows? She covered her mouth, realizing she'd said too much, but it was too late. I saw the truth in her eyes. Sandra, please, she began, but I was already out the door. My sister and my husband, while cancer ravaged my body, they conspired to steal my daughter's future. As I drove home, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, one thought crystallized in my mind. This betrayal would cost them everything. I just didn't know yet how I'd make them pay. I found Davi in his home office, typing as if it were any other morning, as if he hadn't helped steal our daughter's future. You knew. My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. He didn't. Turn around. About what? Don't. Esther told me you knew about the money. He stopped typing. When he finally faced me, his expression wasn't guilt or apology. It was irritation. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. Bigger than it needs to be? I gripped the doorframe to stay upright. That money was for Sophia's education. And we can always save more, he said, as if explaining something simple to a child. Esther needed it now. She's got a real opportunity with this new business. What business? Import-export. Her boyfriend, Kako, has contacts. Overseas. It's practically guaranteed returns. I laughed, a hollow sound that startled even me. You let my sister and her latest nobody boyfriend steal our daughter's college fund for an import-export scheme? She's family, Sandra. He stood, running his hands through his hair. You're being dramatic. You're emotional. Because of the treatments. Don't you dare blame the cancer for this. I stepped forward, forcing him to meet my eyes. You helped her make the transfers. His silence was answer enough. I trusted you, I whispered. Both of you. Look, he sighed. What's done is done. You're strong. You'll recover. Esther needed this chance more than we needed a safety net. The casual way he said it, as if he had any right to make that decision, snapped something inside me. More than our daughter needs an education? We've got years to rebuild the fund. Besides, he checked his phone. Esther's hosting a small dinner tonight to discuss the business plan. When you see the potential... A dinner? I cut him off. She stole everything, and she's throwing a dinner? It's a celebration of new beginnings, he said. She wants to share her vision, show it wasn't a mistake. I stared at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face. And you expect me to go? It'd mean a lot to her. To us. My phone buzzed. A text from Esther. Dinner at 7, wearing my new Gucci dress. Can't wait to share the amazing news. Fine, I said quietly. I'll go. Davi looked relieved. You'll see, this is good for everyone. I left him with his delusions and drove to the bank. The teller's face was sympathetic as I requested all recent transaction records. Mrs. Almeida, she called as I turned to leave. There's something else you should know. She slid a paper across the counter. There it was, in black and white. Future Ventures Limited. Joint account holders Davi Almeida and Esther Almeida. I clutched the paper, my vision blurring. Not just theft, but premeditated betrayal. They'd set up a company while I fought for my life. My best friend Amanda met me in the bank's parking lot, still holding the paper. I'd called her, dazed, needing someone who wasn't part of this nightmare. Oh, honey, she said, pulling me into a hug. What do you need? A lawyer, I replied, my voice hardening. And everything you know about bank fraud. I have a friend who's an expert in exactly that. She grabbed her phone. Dr. Guides, he's discreet, ruthless, and owes me a favor. I need to be smart about this, I said, more to myself than her. They think I'm weak now, vulnerable, so let them think that. Amanda's eyes gleamed. While you build your case? That night, I walked into Esther's apartment wearing my best smile. The table was set with expensive china I'd never seen before. Davy was already there, along with Esther's boyfriend, Kako, a slick-looking man with overly white teeth. Sandra! Esther hugged me, reeking of costly perfume. So glad you came. Wait till you hear about our plans. I hugged her back, noticing the price tag she'd forgotten to remove from her new clothes. My money, Sophia's money, on display. I wouldn't miss it for anything, I said, accepting a glass of champagne. Tell me everything. As they launched into their grand vision of international trade, I smiled and nodded, playing the supportive sister, the understanding wife. But inside, I was already at war. They thought cancer had weakened me. They were about to find out how wrong they were. Chemo makes you tired, but betrayal keeps you awake. I spent my nights documenting everything. Every transfer, every text, every business meeting. My laptop became a vault of their fraud, growing daily. Dr. Guides' office was exactly what you'd expect from a high-caliber lawyer. All leather. And mahogany. He reviewed my evidence with sharp eyes as I tried not to fidget. This is meticulous work, he said, closing my laptop. Most clients come in emotional. You came prepared. I've had a lot of time to think between treatments. He leaned forward. The joint business account is particularly damning. It shows premeditation, conspiracy. Have you spoken to the bank's fraud department? I'm meeting them today. I checked my watch. In an hour, actually. Excellent. I've already filed for emergency account freezes. We'll need proof of your medical expenses, evidence the money was intended for your daughter's education. A knock. Interrupted. Amanda poked her head in. Sorry, I'm late. Traffic was hell. She sat beside me, squeezing my hand. Did you tell him about the car? Dr. Goodes raised an eyebrow. What car? I grabbed my phone, showing him the registration document I'd found in Davy's email. They bought a Mercedes last week, registered in Davy's name, but Esther's driving it, using Sophia's college fund. Dr. Gueda's pen scratched his notepad. Perfect. More evidence of personal gain through fraudulent means. The bank's fraud investigator, Lenny, was younger than I expected, with sharp eyes and a determined air. She spread documents across her desk as I recounted everything. Classic affinity fraud, she said, using family ties to gain trust, then exploiting them. But they were sloppy. She pointed to a series of transactions. They didn't even try to hide these. They didn't think they needed to, I said quietly. They assumed I was too sick to notice. Their arrogance works in our favor. We can trace every cent. She grabbed more papers. They've been spending extravagantly. Designer clothes, luxury cars, expensive restaurants, all traceable, all documented. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Mom, when can we start looking at colleges? Jessica's already visiting Skidmore. My heart clenched. Lenny must have noticed my expression. Your daughter doesn't know? I shook my head. She only knows we're adjusting the timeline. I can't tell her her own father. We'll get it back, Lenny assured me. Every cent. That night, I found Sophia at her desk, surrounded by college brochures. She looked up when I entered, her face bright with excitement. MIT has this incredible engineering program, she said, pointing to a glossy page. And their robotics lab is unreal. I sat on her bed, struggling to keep my voice steady. Sweetie, about college? I know. We have to wait to see how your treatment goes. She turned back to the brochures. But it doesn't hurt to look, right? I watched her pore over the pages, planning her future while her father and aunt dismantled it piece by piece. My phone buzzed again, Esther sending photos of her and Kako at some fancy restaurant, having the most amazing dinner. Business is booming. I excused myself to the bathroom and threw up, though I couldn't tell if it was the chemo or the rage. Later that night, I met Amanda at our usual coffee shop. She slid a file across the table. My friend at the dealership got this, she said. Full documentation of the car purchase. Davy used your power of attorney to access the college fund directly. I flipped through the papers, stopping at a familiar signature. He forged my name. Add it to the pile. Amanda stirred her coffee. Dr. Guedes says we're almost ready. The court date's set for next month. They're planning? Something big before then? I said. Esther keeps hinting at some celebratory dinner. Something about expanding the business. More like fleeing with what's left of the money. Amanda's eyes narrowed. You think they're planning to skip the country? I showed her Esther's latest social media posts, all about international travel and exciting new horizons. Not if I can stop it. I pulled out my own file. I found their flight searches. Costa Rica, apparently. They think they're clever. They won't get that far, Amanda promised. Dr. Goodes has a judge on standby for emergency orders. I looked at my hands, steady despite everything. I always thought cancer would be the hardest fight of my life. Cancer's just a disease, Amanda said softly. This is personal. My phone lit up with another text from Esther. Big announcement dinner next week. Wear something fancy. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then let's make it memorable. The invitation arrived on thick cream cardstock with gold lettering, announcing a celebration of success at one of the city's priciest restaurants. Esther's handwriting scrawled across the bottom. Can't wait to share our incredible news. Wear that blue dress you love. Kisses. The blue dress she mentioned hung in my closet, unworn. I'd bought it before the diagnosis, before everything changed. Now it hung loose where chemo had eaten away at my body. You don't have to go, Amanda said, watching me adjust the dress in the mirror. Yes, I do. I smoothed the fabric. They need to think everything's normal. My phone pinged with another of Esther's Instagram posts. Her and Kako posing in front of Gucci. Blessed and entrepreneurial life. The comments were full of congratulations from people who had no idea they were celebrating stolen money. Davi came, home early that day, whistling as he changed for the dinner. "You look nice," he said, as if nothing were wrong, as if he hadn't destroyed our family. "Thanks." I watched him pick out a new tie, another purchase I hadn't known about. Esther's been posting a lot about Costa Rica lately. His hands hesitated slightly on the tie. Must be trendy or something. Must be. My phone rang. Dr. Geddes. I stepped into the bathroom to answer. "It's done," he said without preamble. "The judge signed the orders. We can freeze everything the moment you give the word. The dinner's tomorrow night. Perfect timing. Lenny has the documentation ready. Just say when." I ended the call and found Davi watching me. "Everything okay?" "Great. Just checking my lab results." He nodded, already losing interest. "Ready to go? We should get flowers for Esther." The restaurant was every bit as pretentious as I'd expected. Esther held court at a private table, Kako at her side, both glowing with the artificial sheen of new money. My money. "Sandra," she air-kissed me, "you came and you wore the dress. Wouldn't miss it for anything." I handed her the flowers. "Congrats on everything." More guests arrived, mostly Esther's new business friends, who seemed as genuine as cubic zirconia. They lapped up her tales of entrepreneurial success while sipping $500 bottles of wine. "It's all about seizing opportunities," Esther announced to the table, "taking risks, chasing dreams, and having support." Kako squeezed her hand. "Family that believes in you." I saw Davi nod, proud, as if he'd done something noble. My phone buzzed, a text from Lenny. "Everything in place. All accounts tracked. Ready when you are?" Esther tapped her glass, standing for a toast. "I have incredible news. Thanks to our unbelievable success, Kako and I are expanding internationally. We're opening an office in Costa Rica." The table erupted in applause. I clapped too, watching Davi's face. He wasn't surprised, of course. He'd helped plan it. "We leave next month," Kako announced. "A new chapter in paradise." My phone buzzed again. "Dr. Geddes," judge confirmed. "One word from you, and their accounts freeze. All of them." I excused myself to the bathroom, finding Amanda waiting. "They're as planned." "They're fleeing," I said, checking the stalls to ensure we were alone. "Costa Rica, next month." "Not anymore." Amanda's eyes were hard. "Dr. Geddes says the second those accounts freeze, their passports get flagged. They really think they'll get away with it." "That's the beauty of it," Amanda squeezed my shoulder. "Their arrogance makes them careless. Every post, every purchase, every transfer, it's all evidence." Back at the table, Esther was radiant, describing their plans for a beachfront office. Davi kept checking his phone, probably confirming flight details. "A toast," Kako called, raising his glass. "To new beginnings." I lifted my water glass, smiling as everyone drank. My phone lit up with another Instagram notification. Esther posting a photo of us all, captioned, "Family is everything. Blessed. New chapter. Off to Costa Rica. Sandra." Esther turned to me, her eyes shining with fake sincerity. "I know things. Have been tough with your treatment, but I hope you know everything I do for family." I thought of Sophia at home, still believing in her future, still trusting her father. I thought of all the nights I spent sick from chemo while they planned their escape with my daughter's money. "Of course," I said softly. "Family is everything?" Tomorrow, they'd learn exactly what that meant. But tonight, I let them. Celebrate? Let them think they'd won. After all, the best revenge is served room temperature with a side of justice. Dr. Geddes' office buzzed with quiet intensity as Lenny spread documents across the conference table. Each paper represented another betrayal, another piece of evidence against my sister and husband. 12 separate accounts, Lenny said, pointing to a diagram. All interconnected, all funded with your money. They got creative with the transfers. I'll give them that, but not creative enough. Dr. Geddes added, signing court orders. The freeze happens at 7 p.m. tomorrow during their farewell dinner. Every account, every card, everything. My hands trembled slightly as I signed the final papers. And their passports? Flagged. Lenny checked her tablet. Border. Control's been notified. The second they try to leave the country, they'll be detained. Amanda arrived with coffee and more files. "You need to see this," she said, opening emails on her phone. "Davy's been talking to a divorce lawyer." My stomach churned. "What?" "He's building a case," she continued, her voice tight with anger, "claiming your illness has left you mentally unstable. He wants custody of Sophia." The room spun. I gripped the table, forcing myself not to be sick. "When's he meeting them?" "Next week, after their planned departure date." Amanda's face softened. "He was going to leave you sick, alone, and then take Sophia." Dr. Guidez's pen scratched sharply. "This changes things. We need to move faster." He turned to Lenny. "Can we advance the timeline?" "The accounts are ready," she confirmed. "We could freeze them tonight if needed." "No," I said, straightening. "Let them have their dinner. Let them think they won. I want to see their faces when it all falls apart." My phone pinged. Esther sending party details for the next night. "Wearing my new Prada. Bring Sophia. She should be part of the celebration." "She wants Sophia there." Amanda's voice dripped with disgust. "Of course she does." I showed her Davy's reply. Perfect timing. All set. "They're taking her," I said. "Tomorrow night, right after the dinner." Lenny caught on. "Right after the dinner?" "Well," Dr. Guides adjusted his tie, "they're in for a big surprise." I drove home dazed, my mind racing. In the driveway, I found Sophia sitting on the porch steps. "Mom," her voice was small, "is it true we don't have money for college anymore?" My heart stopped. "Who told you that?" "I heard Dad on the phone. He said something about funds being temporarily reallocated." She looked at me, eyes wide. "But it's coming back, right?" I sat beside her, pulling her close. "Listen to me. Your future is secure. I promise you that. No matter what happens. Tomorrow. Remember, I'll always protect you." "What's happening tomorrow?" "A dinner. Your aunt's celebrating her new business. The one Dad helped with?" She fidgeted with her shoelaces. "He seems really excited about Costa Rica." I froze. "What about Costa Rica?" "He's been looking at schools there, international ones." She shrugged. "I thought maybe we were moving." The pieces clicked. Not just stealing the money, not just planning a divorce, they were going to take my daughter to another country while I was sick, while I was vulnerable. My phone buzzed again. "Davy, got Sophia's passport? Expedited. All set for tomorrow." I hugged Sophia tighter, my resolve hardening. "How about you sleep at Aunt Amanda's tonight? She'll make those cookies you love." "Really? On a school night?" "Really. I'll pick you up tomorrow before the dinner." After dropping her off, I met Lenny at a coffee shop. She had more papers, more evidence of their plans. "Private. School enrollments," she said, sliding them across the table. "Residency permits. They've been planning this for months." "While I was in chemo," I said, my voice hollow, "while I was fighting for my life, they were planning to steal my daughter. But we've got them." Lenny's eyes were fierce. The money trail, the fraudulent transfers, the forged documents, and now attempted parental abduction. My phone lit up with texts from both. "Esther, can't wait for tomorrow. Family means everything. Davy, make sure Sophia's dressed up. It's a special night." I turned off my phone, suddenly calm. "Tomorrow, they'll learn what family really means. They think cancer weakened you," I said to Lenny. "They're about to learn it made me unstoppable." The restaurant glowed with false promises, just like my sister's smile. Esther stood at the entrance in her new Prada dress, greeting guests like a queen at her court. Kako hovered nearby, checking his phone every few minutes. "Sandra!" Esther hugged me tightly. "Where's Sophia?" "She's not feeling well," I lied smoothly. "Staying with Amanda tonight." Davy's face twitched. "You didn't tell me." "Must have slipped my mind during chemo?" I smiled sweetly. "You know how forgetful I've been lately." The private dining room was lavishly decorated, champagne flowing, expensive centerpieces on every table. My daughter's future spread across the room in crystal flutes and silk napkins. 7 minutes, Lenny texted from the bar. Dr. Guides sat at a corner booth, pretending to work on his laptop. Esther tapped her glass, calling everyone's attention. "Thank you all for coming tonight. We have such exciting news to share. Kako wrapped an arm around her waist. Thanks to our incredible success with future ventures, we're expanding internationally. Costa Rica! Esther beamed. We leave next week, and we couldn't have done it without family support. She raised her glass to Davi. Minutes. Ugo Davi stood, joining their toast. To new beginnings and fresh starts. Speaking of fresh starts, Kako announced, Esther, we have another surprise. He dropped to one knee, producing a ring that probably cost 3 months of Sophia's college tuition. Will you marry me and he marry her? The room erupted in cheers as Esther squealed, Yes! I checked my watch. 5 minutes. We're getting married in Costa Rica, Esther, she gushed. On at the beach. It's a party here. Everyone's invited, of course. 4 minutes. Davy caught my eye across the table. His expression was almost apologetic. Almost, but not quite. He had no idea that his passport was already flagged, that his carefully planned escape was about to implode. 3 minutes. Sandra, Esther called, would you make a toast? As my sister, it would mean so much. 2 minutes. I stood slowly, raising my water glass. The room hushed, all eyes on me. Esther smiled, drunk on her success and champagne. Davy checked his phone one last time. 1 minute. To my family, I began, my voice clear. To Esther, who taught me that family means everything. Esther dabbed at her eyes, crocodile tears welling. To my husband, who showed me, while I fought cancer, how far people will go when they think you're too weak to fight back. Her smile faltered. And to Karma, I continued, as Lenny and Dr. Gudi's approached from opposite sides, which arrives exactly right now. The room's phone started buzzing. Esther clutched hers, her face draining of color. Kako stared at his screen, horrified. Davy's credit card was declined when he tried to deny the bill. What's going on? Esther's voice trembled. My accounts are all frozen. Funny thing about stealing from someone with an accounting background, I said, pulling out a thick folder. We tend to keep receipts. Lenny stepped forward, badge visible, flashing. Esther, Davi Almeida. I'm with the bank's fraud investigation unit. We need to discuss some troubling transactions. This is ridiculous. Esther stood swaying slightly. It was a loan. Tell them, Davy. But Davi was staring at Dr. Geddes, who calmly laid out court documents. Theft, fraud, conspiracy, attempted parental abduction, Dr. Geddes listed. Shall I go on? You can't prove anything, Kako started, but stopped when I held up my phone playing a recording from last week's dinner where they discussed their plans in detail. I've been documenting everything, I said, softly. Every transfer, every conversation, every plan to steal my daughter. Esther's mascara ran as she turned to Davy. Do something! Police are outside, Lenny announced, along with additional federal agents given the international flight risk. Guests started slipping away as Esther sank into her chair, her new ring catching the light. Kako was already inching toward the back exit. You were right about one thing, I said to my sister as officers entered the room. Family is everything. That's why I'm making sure you pay for trying. To steal mine. Davy reached for me. Sandra, please, we can explain. Save it for the judge. I stepped back as Lenny began reading their rights. Oh, and Esther, that Prada dress you're wearing, I want it back. It was bought with my daughter's college fund. I walked out of the restaurant into the cool night air, leaving behind the sound of handcuffs clicking. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Sophia's safe. She's asking about MIT again. I smiled, finally feeling truly strong for the first time since my diagnosis. Cancer couldn't break me, and neither could they. The police station hummed with late-night activity as Lenny walked me through the interview process. Behind the one-way glass, I could hear Esther whining about family loyalty while Davi demanded his lawyer. We found the passports, Lenny said, spreading photos on the table. Sophia's was hidden in Davy's office safe. Expedited processing, departure set for tomorrow night. My hands shook as I picked up my daughter's passport. They were really going to take her. But they didn't. Lenny squeezed my shoulder. We froze all the accounts, including 3 we didn't know about until tonight. Total amount stolen. She slid a document over. I stared at the number. That's more than Sophia's college fund. They took everything they could. Access, savings, retirement, even your medical fund. A commotion outside drew our attention. Kako was being led in, handcuffed, his perfect white teeth gritted in fury. Found him at the airport, an officer reported, trying to board a flight to Panama with $250,000 in cash. My money? I asked Lenny. She nodded. And, Esther's new car is missing? We've issued an alert. Dr. Guds entered, looking pleased despite the late hour. Davy's lawyer just arrived. He's already talking plea deals. No deals, I said firmly. They plan to kidnap my daughter. Through the window, I watched Davy slump in his chair as his lawyer whispered urgently. Gone was the confident man who thought he could steal my life. In his place sat a desperate stranger. Sandra, he called as I passed his room. Please, just listen. I stopped at the door. You were going to take my daughter while I was sick with cancer. I was trying to protect her. He leaned forward, desperate. You're not thinking clearly. The treatments, the stress of having my husband and sister steal everything while planning to kidnap my daughter. I stepped closer. You're right. That's been stressful. We can fix this, he pleaded. I'll pay it all back. We can start over. Start over? I laughed coldly. You chose her. Now you'll share her consequences. In the next room, Esther had stopped crying, her makeup smeared across her face. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she moaned as I entered. How was it supposed to be? I sat across from her. You steal my daughter's future, flee to Costa Rica, live happily ever after with my money? I deserved a chance. She slammed her hands on the table. You always had everything. The steady job, the perfect family. It wasn't fair. Fair? I leaned forward. I have cancer, Esther. While I was fighting for my life, you and my husband conspired to steal everything I had left. Kako said the business was guaranteed. She crumbled again, the reality finally hitting her. Kako just tried to flee the country without you. What's going to happen to me? You'll face charges. Lots of them. I stood. And every time you think about betraying someone, you'll remember this moment. Dawn was breaking. As I left the station, Dr. Gates walked me to my car, reviewing next steps. The court date's set for next week, he said. With the evidence we have, plus their attempted flight, they're looking at serious time. And the money? We recovered most of it. The rest? He smiled faintly. Let's just say Kako's attempt to flee with cash makes asset. Recovery much easier. My phone buzzed. Amanda sending a photo of Sophia sleeping, surrounded by college brochures, safe, protected, her future secured again. One more thing, Dr. Guedes added hesitantly. We found divorce papers in Davy's email. He planned to file next week, citing your mental instability due to cancer treatments as grounds for full custody. I absorbed this final betrayal with an odd calm. Add it to the charges. Already done. He handed me a folder. These are your new custody papers. Given the circumstances, I don't think he'll contest. The morning sun hit my face as I drove home, warming the night's chill. In the rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of myself. Tired, worn by treatment, but unbroken. My phone rang. Dr. Rivaldo calling about my latest results. Your numbers are improving, she said warmly. The treatment's working. I thought of Esther and Davy in their cells, Kako in cuffs, all their careful plans undone by their own greed. Yes, I replied, smiling for the first time in what felt like years. The treatment's working perfectly. When I got home, I found Sophia awake, making breakfast. Mom! She hugged me tightly. Where were you? Is everything okay? I held her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. Everything's going to be fine now. How about we look at those college brochures together? Her face lit up. Seriously? You mean it? I poured coffee for us both. Let's talk about your future. The courthouse steps felt warmer. Under the autumn sun as I waited for Dr. Guds to finish filing the final paperwork, my phone buzzed with news alerts. Local business couple sentenced in major fraud case. But I didn't need to read them. I'd watched it happen firsthand. Davy hadn't looked at me during the sentencing. Esther sobbed, mascara streaking again, begging for leniency. The judge remained unmoved by their performances. 7 years, Dr. Guedes said, joining me on the steps. No chance of early parole, given the attempted abduction charges. Kako got 10 for his role, plus additional charges for attempting to flee. He handed me a thick envelope. The last of the recovered funds, minus legal fees. Your daughter's college fund is fully restored. My phone pinged. Dr. Rivaldo confirming my final treatment session. The cancer was in remission, retreating as surely as my ex-husband's confidence in court. "Mom," Sophia called, racing up the steps with Amanda. "Did you see? I got my early acceptance letter." I hugged her tightly, the MIT admission letter crumpling between us. "Of course you did. You're brilliant. We should celebrate," Amanda suggested. "I know a great lunch spot." We ended up at the same restaurant where it all fell apart that night. In daylight, it seemed smaller, less imposing. The maitre d' recognized me, his eyes widening. Slightly. "Your usual table's available," he said quickly. "Champagne on the house?" "Water's fine," I replied, catching his nervous glance. The restaurant's reputation had taken a hit after the arrest made headlines. As we settled in, Sophia grabbed her phone. "Look what Aunt Esther posted from prison." I hadn't blocked her social media access. I wanted her to see the consequences of her actions. Her latest post was a blur of self-pity. Families complicated. Learning hard lessons. When prison time. Reflection. "She still doesn't get it," Amanda muttered. "She never will," I agreed. Sophia put her phone away, focusing on the college brochure she'd brought. MIT has this amazing robotics program, and their financial aid office already confirmed my scholarship. I watched her plan her future, free from the shadows of a betrayal she never fully knew. The waiter brought our food, and I realized I was actually hungry. The first time since the diagnosis that food smelled appetizing. "The treatment worked," I told them, picking up my fork. "Dr. Rivaldo confirmed this morning. Full remission." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. Sophia grabbed my hand. "Seriously? You're sure?" "Seriously." I squeezed her hand back. "I'm not going anywhere, except to help you move into your dorm," Sophia added quickly. "Except that." My phone buzzed, Lenny with updates. They'd finally found Esther's Mercedes, abandoned at the Uruguay border. The last piece of evidence collected, the final loose end tied. "You know what's weird?" Sophia said, poking at her salad. "Dad hasn't tried to contact me since. Everything." "He can't," I reminded her gently. "The restraining order?" "I know." She straightened her shoulders. "And I'm glad. What they tried to do, I wouldn't have forgiven them either." Sunlight streamed through the windows, catching the edge of my water glass. I remembered sitting here months ago, watching Esther celebrate stealing my daughter's future. Now she was in a cell while Sophia planned for MIT. "Sometimes the best revenge is success," Amanda said, raising her glass. "To new beginnings." "To karma," I added. "To MIT," Sophia chimed in. We clinked glasses, and I felt the last weight lift from my shoulders. The cancer was gone. The traitors were gone. All that remained was possibility. Outside, autumn leaves scattered across the courthouse steps where justice had finally been served. My phone had stopped buzzing with drama and crises, now filled with college prep lists and dorm requirements. "Ready to go home?" I asked Sophia. She gathered her brochures, her eyes bright with future plans. "Actually, can we stop by the bookstore? I want to start studying calculus." I laughed, a real full, free laugh. "Of course we can." As we walked to the car, I caught my reflection in a shop window. I looked different, stronger, not just for beating cancer, but for surviving betrayal, for protecting what mattered most. "Mom," Sophia called ahead of me. "You coming?" I joined her, leaving the courthouse and its ghosts behind. They'd tried to steal my daughter's future, thinking cancer had weakened me. Instead, they learned what every mother knows. Nothing makes you stronger than fighting for your child. "Let's get that calculus book," I said, stepping into the sunlight. The future was waiting.